Hey guys, this is Brian from Batteries in Black again with our second installment of our EV3 tutorial. Today I'll be going over a basic overview of the EV3 programming environment and specifically how it's different than the old LEGO Mindstorms. So I have EV3 opened right here, and then just to start a new program you just click Add Project. So I already have my first project open, so I'll just be using that. So in EV3 specifically, you have your blocks down here in these nice colored tabs. Your green blocks are just your basic motor blocks. Your orange blocks are your weight, loop, and switch blocks. They call it flow control. And your yellow blocks are your sensors. You're going to be using these quite a bit. Red are your data operations. These are actually very useful to compute some harder advanced techniques in programming that you'll be using mostly stored in my blocks. We'll be using that later. Specifically, we'll be teaching you how to make certain programs that allow you to input a center meter movement, and then your robot will move forward a certain amount versus a number of rotations. And the way that you can do that are with these data operation blocks, math blocks. And then over here you have your miscellaneous blocks. I'd say you won't use these much in FLL, but there are things like comment blocks, stop programs, inverting motors, things like that give you some usage, but you won't be using too much. And right here you'll find your my blocks. Basically these are blocks that are like functions in normal programming language. You can select a certain amount of blocks, and then that's just a block that you'll be able to reuse over and over again. So that's in your My Block section. So just to begin with some basics, over here in your Action Block section, you have your medium motor, your large motor, move steering, and move tank. So basically your medium motor is just one type of motor. It's less powerful than your large motor. Each one of these are different than your FLL programming environment or your old LEGO Mindstorms programming environment, in that right here the icons are pretty clear in what they do. Right here you can set the amount of power. In my case this is set to rotations. You can change that right here to seconds and degrees, and over here it's whether you want to brake or you want to coast, and then that's similar for your large motor. So these are different than the old LEGO Mindstorms environment, as it looks more clean and is easier to comprehend as a programmer. And then you can select your ports up here, and then similarly you have move steering, which is for turns, and then you have move tank, which is for forward and backwards movement. So those are your basic move blocks, and then they all have your power selections and different forms of time measurement right here, degrees, seconds, or rotations. So those are your basic movement blocks. I'll just delete them from the screen right now. And then right over here you have your basic flow control blocks, or just logic blocks you could say. This is your basic loop to keep things repeating. You also have your switch, which is to give you different options if one condition or another is met. And then you have your loop terminator block, which I guess I will just drop right there. So then those blocks are really useful in more advanced programming, and we'll be going into some specific applications of those later on in further videos. So then right over here you see you have your sensor blocks, and sensor blocks are really critical for any advanced programming to make sure that your programming is accurate and your robot stays consistent. So just some basic sensors. You have your infrared, your motor rotation. This is just like sensing how many rotations a motor makes, so you can try to track how far your motor has ran and your robot has gone. You have your timer and your touch sensor, your light sensor or color sensor, things like that. And then each block, like the color sensor, you can set a certain value that you want it to read, and then you can set stop conditions in combination with loop blocks or weight blocks, and those we'll be going into in further episodes. Right over here are your data operation blocks, or your other logic blocks. Here you can make computations like math operations, multiplying, dividing. You can compare things, you can set ranges, you can set texts, and you can also make variables, which are very important for any advanced operations. And we'll be going in depth to this section quite a bit in later videos. And then right over here are the blocks that you really won't be using in FLL, miscellaneous blocks. They call them advanced blocks. I don't use these very much. And then finally your My Block section. So basically the new programming environment overall looks very clean. The new blocks that they have are a lot easier to comprehend. The typical functions from the old Lego Mindstorms are still there. You can still drag the screen around with this hand. You can still zoom in, zoom out with this function right here. You can set to 1:1 the normal screen ratio again with this right here. You can save your program, and you can make comments. Comments, I'll make a note of it right now. Comments are very important in your programs, especially in FLL. You want to make sure that you and the judges can understand your program, because after some weeks away, you will forget what your program does. So comment blocks are very, very helpful. And right over here, you'll be able to see if your EV3 is connected, you'll be able to see some statuses like what ports are connected to which sensors and which bricks are available. So just some good information down here. But overall, the programming environment is really nice to work with. There are some new blocks and some new functions that you can experiment, but hopefully this has given you a good overview of what EV3 can do. And in later episodes, we'll be going into specific functions of sensors, specific movement, and more advanced operations that you'll be able to apply to your FLL experience. So I hope this has helped out, and I'll see you guys next week for our next installment of our LEGO Mindstorms EV3 tutorial. Thank you.